Good day, everyone. I am Ramon Carlo R. Mercado Jr., and I'm here to discuss about Introduction to Engineering Economics. We have these four pointers to discuss. First is the principles, second is the cost concepts, third is the general economic environment, and fourth is the sample problem. Let us first define what is engineering economics. Engineering economics is a systematic evaluation of the economic merits of proposed solutions to engineering problems. To be economically acceptable or affordable, solutions to engineering problems must demonstrate a positive balance of long-term benefits over long-term costs. Next are the principles on engineering economics. First is to develop the alternatives. Second, focus on the differences. Third, use a consistent viewpoint. Fourth, use a common unit of measure. Fifth, consider all relevant criteria. Sixth, make risk and uncertainty explicit. And the last, revisit your decisions. Next is the cost concepts in engineering economics. First, we have the fixed cost or CF. The fixed costs are those unaffected by changes in activity level over a feasible range of operations for the capacity or capability available. Examples includes insurances and tax on facilities, general management and administrative salaries, licenses fee, and interest cost on borrowed capital. Next, we have the variable cost or CV. Those associated with an operation that varies in total with the quantity of output or other measures of activity level. Examples are the cost of materials and labor used in a product or service. Next, we have the incremental cost or incremental revenue. It is the additional cost or revenue that results from increasing the output of a system by one or more units, examples of which are the incremental cost of producing a barrel of oil and an incremental cost to the state for educating a student. The incremental cost or revenue is often quite difficult to determine in practice. Next, we have indirect costs. These are the costs that are difficult to allocate to a specific output or work activity. Examples are costs allocated to a selected formula to the outputs of work activities. This also includes the cost of common tools, general supplies, and equipment maintenance in a plant. Overhead consists of a plant operating costs that are not direct labor or direct material. Examples of overhead includes electricity, general repairs, property taxes, and supervisions. Next, we have the standard cost. These are planned costs per unit of output that are established in advance of actual production or service delivery. They are developed from anticipated direct labor hours, materials, and overhead categories. Because total overhead costs are associated with a certain level of production, this is an important condition. This is an important condition that should be remembered when dealing with standard cost data. Next, we have the book cost or non-cash cost, a cost that does not involve a cash transaction and is reflected in the accounting system. It is represented by the recovery of past expenditures over a fixed period of time. Example of which is the depreciation charge for the use of assets like plant equipments. Next, we have the sunk cost. It is It is one that has occurred in the past and has no relevance to estimate of future costs and revenues related to an alternative course of action. Thus, a sunk cost is common to all alternatives. It's not part of the future cash flows and can be disregarded in engineering economics analysis. And lastly is the opportunity cost. This cost is incurred because of the use of limited resources, such that the opportunity to use those resources to monetary advantage is an alternative use is foregone. Next, we have the economic environment. First, we have the producer goods and services. These are used to produce consumer goods and services or other producer goods. Examples are machine tools, factory buildings, buses, and farm machineries. Next is the consumer goods and services. These are products or services These are products or services that are directly used by the people to satisfy their wants. Examples are food, clothing, homes, cars, TV sets, medicinal services, and opera. Next, we have the utility. It is the power to satisfy human wants and needs. It is mostly measured in terms of value, expressed in some medium of exchange as the price that must be paid to obtain the particular item. Engineering, engineering economy focuses on the increasing the utility value of materials or products. An example is an iron ore being processed to become razor blades, or wood being processed to become broom. Next, we have the necessities, luxuries, and price demands. The terms necessities and luxuries are relative to an individual. However, in all goods and services, there is a relationship between the price. As the selling price P is increased, there will be less demand D for the product. And as the selling price is decreased, the demand will increase. This is expressed in a linear function P equals A minus BD. Next, we have the competition. There are two types. First is the perfect competition. It occurs in a situation in which any given product is supplied by a large number of vendors and there is no restriction on additional suppliers entering the market. There is a complete freedom on the part of both buyer and seller. However, this may not occur in an actual practice. Next is the monopoly. It is the opposite pole from perfect competition. A perfect monopoly exists when a unique product or service is only available from a single supplier and the vendor can prevent the entry of all others in the market. This rarely occurs in practice. Next, we have the total revenue. The total revenue is the product of the selling price unit P and the number of units sold D. It is expressed by total revenue equals price times demand equals PD. Using the relationship between price and demand from the equation 1, we have total revenue equals A minus BD times D is equivalent to AD minus BD squared. Now let us proceed to the sample problem. Question number 1. A company in the process industry produces a chemical compound that is sold to manufacturers for use in the production of certain plastic products. The plant that produces the compound employs approximately 300 people. Develop a list of 6 different cost elements that would be fixed and a similar list of 6 cost elements that will be variable. The fixed cost elements are the executive salaries and the related cost of benefits, the salaries and other expenses associated with operating a legal department, operation and maintenance or O&M expenses for physical facilities like buildings, parking lots and landscaping, etc. We have insurances, property taxes and any licenses fee. Other administrative expenses like personnel not directly related to production like copying, duplicating and graphic support, etc. And lastly is the interest cost on the borrowed capital. And we have these variable cost elements. First is the direct labor, material used in the product or service, electricity, lubricating and cutting oil, and so on to the equipment used to the electricity, lubricating and cutting oil, and so on to equipment used to produce the product or deliver a service, replacement parts and other maintenance expenses for jigs and fixtures, maintenance materials and replacement parts for equipment used to produce a product or deliver a service. Lastly is the proportion of the cost for a support activity to production or service delivery that varies with quantity of output. And that is all for the discussion. Thank you.